My name's Jack Grimes, and I run a private practice in asset protection, estate planning, and small business law, serving Virginia, Maryland, DC, and New Jersey. I'm also a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force JAG Corps Reserve, where I serve in a cyber unit. So all that to tell you, I love this topic, and I'm really excited to be here today. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin and how it works. First, you have person A, right, who wants to send Bitcoin to person B. They go on their computer, they initiate the transaction. They do this through addresses, Bitcoin addresses. You send from your address to another address. This brings up one of the first features of Bitcoin, which is anonymity. The address is not a person, right? A person owns the address, but we don't have a name on that transaction. We just see the money flowing from one to another. It's anonymous, but it is also transparent, meaning the blockchain, you can follow the trail of money from point A to wherever it ends up, all the way down the chain, even if it has thousands of transactions. Other forms of money, like cash, for example, you can launder that a lot easier. It's more difficult to trace. Next, you initiate the transaction. It goes into the network. That the fact that you just tried to send your Bitcoin to someone else goes across, that transaction goes across a vast network of 10,000 nodes, lots of nodes, no hierarchy, no central server. So every transaction goes out to 10,000 and is verified across all of them. So what does that mean? It means you cannot mess with the system. You can't go in there and try to fake a transaction, because to do that would require you to fool all 10,000 computers, and you're not going to be able to do that. There is redundancy in the system that prevents it. Even if half of those systems went down in a hack or got overwhelmed, the other half would record the transaction. Everything keeps trucking along. Next, we've got the miners, whose job it is to verify the transactions. But miners validate the transaction, meaning they make sure before it's recorded that it actually happened, the person had the money they tried to send, the person who's receiving it has a valid address. Because once it is recorded on the network, it's immutable, meaning you can never change it. No one can go back and say, oh, that was a mistake, let's fix it. Next, after the miners verify, right, it goes into this thing called a block. This is where we get the word blockchain. Once a block is verified, it gets added to the blockchain. It's immutable, like I just said, never changeable. And we move on to the next series of transactions. And the miners get paid for doing this verification through kind of a complex system. But there is no, and that is important because there's no company overseeing all this. So you have to have incentives in place in order for this to all work.